Hi and welcome to the Yorkshire Bike Mechanics YouTube channel. My name's Dave Kay and it's Saturday the 20th of March today and it's reasonably warm outside. I've not got my hoodie on, I've got my t-shirt on, so you can tell it must be reasonably warm. I've cleared my bench-ish, which is good for me. Got a bit of a space going on, bit of cardboard on floor there, but it's a working workshop, so that's fine. We've had a silly week. I don't know what your week's been like, but we've had a stupid week. Built over 70 wheels this week. And we've got a lovely bike in to service. Today we've got a Santa Cruz Hightower in. One of my favourite bikes. Lovely to ride. Lovely 29er. They make some lovely bikes to Santa Cruz. Nice to work on as well. So what we're doing with this bike is it's coming for a full service. It's quite tired. It needs quite a lot of work doing to it. It's been well ridden, and it needs quite a bit doing to it. So I've had a quick look over it, and I think probably it needs stripping down and rebuilding. Quite a lot of play in back wheel there. I know we're going to need definitely a new cassette, new chain, new front ring. These teeth on this front ring, they're so sharp. So we're going to need to put a front ring on it as well. It's going to need a full bearing service. So there's quite a bit to do on it, but I think we'll create a couple of videos on this one. Obviously there's work to do on the back hub. I think we'll end up changing the bearings and servicing that hub. So that's worth videoing and showing you how that's done. Certainly the bearing service, that's a great thing to watch. Really nice to work on are these, but there's a special way that we do it. We have some new bearings for it, so we'll put them in, courtesy of Santa Cruz. But what I want to do this morning is I want to do. I've been meaning to do this for ages. We wanted to do this video for ages, and there's quite a lot of videos out there doing it, but I wanted to kind of put my own kind of twang on it, if you like. And that is a fork service, a lower leg fork service, not a full strip down and a rebuild, because these are desperate for a service. So yeah, I think a lot of people are put off when we mention forks and servicing, but it's really vital that you do service your forks, or you get someone to do it. It's fairly easy to do, so hopefully when you've watched us do it, you might want to have a go yourself. And you don't need that many tools to do it, to be honest. There's a couple of specific tools that you need that make it easier, but generally speaking it's fairly quick and easy to do. So like I say, we'll do this video this morning on these forks, and we'll cover these other bits separately in another video, because it's great to watch these bearings taken out and replaced. So yeah, let's crack on. These are a Fox Performance 36 fit grip. The black anodizing. They're a lovely fork, and they've been well looked after. There's a couple of little marks on stanchions there, but generally speaking they're reasonably clean. We've serviced these before, but it's a while ago. So I'm hoping that these stanchions are going to be fine. So what we need to do basically is a couple of things, a couple of ways we can do this. We can actually take the sliders, the lowers off these stanchions. Well, everything's still in the bike, so we don't need to take the forks off the bike. The other way is to take the forks off the bike and put them in the stand and do it that way. I think if you're going to do this yourself at home or in your workshop, then you're going to do this with the forks in the bike. So this is the way that we'll do it today. these are basically comprised of a damper side system with a fit grip damper system in there. It's completely separate, all contained in this unit here. So if we were to take this top out here, we could actually take out the whole damper system inside. We're not going to go that far with these. What we're doing is just a lower leg service. We're not stripping down and taking them all to bits and putting them all back together. So I don't want to give you too much information about what's inside and how everything goes together. I just want to try and stick to the basics of what we're doing today, why we're doing it and how to do it. So the first thing that we need to do is let's get the wheel out, and we'll bob that to one side. Okay, put that there with the axle or the maxle. Okay, so what we're going to do is, because we're leaving everything in this bike, these lowers, these sliders are going to come off these stanchions, and we need to take them away completely from the bike. So everything attached here will need to come off. So the brake in particular I'm talking about, that's the thing that's going to need to come off, so we can take these sliders away. We can leave the mudguard on. Okay, we don't need to do anything at the moment with these particular buttons. We can leave them exactly as they are for what we need to do. We're not going to touch them for now. Okay, the only bits that we're going to need to look at is everything from this side down. Okay, so what we're doing is let's get this caliper off first. So I'll get a 5mm. And we'll just get this off and away, out of the way, so we can take these bottoms off. It's also a good idea to do a visual, I can't put my teeth in, to do a visual inspection first, particularly on older forks. And what you're looking for wear around the top of these stanchions, particularly where they start to go in to the sliders near the seals. What you're looking for, this anodizing, if you're working on forks that don't have this black anodizing, then the wear will be similar, but you'll be able to see marks or scratches or wear where this particular coating or any coating is starting to disappear. In worst cases, you'll see bad scores just at the top of the seal. So it's worth looking at that before you do this, because if you come across some forks that have got really bad scoring on these top stanchions, you're generally wasting your time, particularly on high-end forks. If that's the case, then we're talking a brand new set of forks or a brand new pair of stanchions, and you're talking quite a bit of money there. So it's important that we look at the condition of these. These look all right at the minute. Having said that, though, I have worked on forks before and they've looked all right, and I've started to take these lower sliders away, and just beneath the seals is a load of wear, really bad wear, completely irreversible, and forks are ruined. That's it, finished. So we've got that off. That's now dangling to one side. We can leave the adapter on the fork. That's not going to get in his way. We'll take this little clip off here that holds this hose on. That's a 2.5mm Allen key. So we'll just whiz that away there. Okay. Now there's a tiny little bit of rubber behind these. I don't know whether you can see that. There's a tiny little bit of rubber behind these. Don't lose that. It will be loose. They're just stuck on. Don't lose it. So I'll just put that clip to one side. So what we can do, this particular brake, we'll just get a tie wrap and we'll just fasten it to the bar just so it's not in his way, and so we can work with it not dangling. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just grab the camera and I'll just show you these close up. So you can see these seals here. There's a little bit of muck and dirt on top, but that could be from lubrication that he's actually put on himself. It could have gathered there. It does feel a bit gritty, but generally speaking, you can see these actually don't look too bad. There's no wear on them. There's a little mark there. Can you see that? Where are we? There we are. There's a little mark there. You can't get your fingernail in it, so it's not bad. It's not rough or sharp, and it's same on the other side. There, so they're not too bad either. It's generally, if it's going to be worn, it's generally on the inside that you see it, on that bit there, and on that side as well. Okay, so that's the brake away. What we'll do is we'll just drop this camera down. I've moved the camera down at the bottom end so you can see what's going on underneath here. You can see what we're up against, what we need to take out. This particular is just a cover, so we can undo that. Okay, don't lose that. We can put that to one side, and under there is the rebound adjuster. There. Okay, we'll need to take that off, and then the other side is a 10mm bolt there, just to hold the stanchions that lowers the air shaft inside. What I want to do is I want to show you how these come off and what we need to do to get them off, and then how we're going to get these stanchions off the fork, how we're going to get these lowers these sliders off the stanchions. So what we need here, just to take these slow speed compression top off, is we're just 2mm Allen key, and we just loosen it slightly, and we can take it off there. Can you see where it actually sits on there? Okay, I don't know whether you've got that. Okay, don't lose these parts, you need to put them safe. Okay, so that's that off. So we need a 15mm socket for that, and a 10mm socket for the other side. So let's undo that. We don't need to undo it completely to begin with. We don't need to take it off, just loosen it off. Just a couple of turns, okay? And then the same with the other side. Okay. They're generally not that tight. Okay, just loosen them off a bit. Then what we need to do is, the ends of the stanchions inside will be stuck to the bottom of these sliders, so we just need to loosen them off by tapping them, just so they loosen off inside. That's all we need, basically. That's all we need, just to loosen them off from the bottom inside. That's it. Now we can take them off completely. Now there is a plastic washer, and it usually stays on the end. I don't know whether you can see that. It usually stays on the end, but you could do with getting it off. In the pack that you get, if you get a Fox kit, then you'll generally get new seals with these. They're like a black plastic seal. The same on that side as well. Sometimes they come away with the nuts, but other times they just sit in. That one has, it's there in the. Can you see that? It's sat in there. We'll need to get a spricker and pull that out and fit another one. I'll show you. So that one's out of the way. Okay. Put that to one side. Okay, so we've loosened these off, and if you notice there's no oil coming out yet, which is fine. I didn't expect any oil coming out. So what I generally do is I generally get a container or something to catch the oil. There's generally not a lot of oil. I'll go through what sort of, what sort of volume we need to put back in here in each particular leg, because this one takes a different volume to this one. It's fairly straightforward, nothing to worry about. So now that we've got these looses, now that we've got these loose, what we can do is we can gradually tap these sliders down off this top arch just to release them off these bottoms, so they can come out. But what we need is we need something to catch the oil in. So I'll just slide this bin over. There's a load of cardboard and stuff inside, so it should soak up any oil. And if we get a cloth and just move these out of the way, I'll pick the camera up. So if we get a thick cloth and a plastic mallet, and then hold it on the top whilst holding the bridge at the same time, we can tap this down. And there's oil starting to drip out the bottom now. Okay, but it's only coming out of the right hand side. I'll try and get my camera down to show you. Can you see that? There's not a lot of oil coming out of there, and you can see it's quite discoloured, quite mucky coloured. Okay, but there's nothing coming out of the other one. This particular plastic washer was stuck on the bottom there. We'll get some new ones in the kit, so we don't need to keep that. Now you can see on the left hand stanchion on the slider that there's oil dripping out of the bottom. You see how discoloured it is? That should actually be clear. But I've seen it before where there's been none come out, or water, believe it or not, or gloop, like a gloopy mess. So really that's not bad. It's discoloured, but at least it's still oil. At least it's still oil and it's still lubricated, and it's got some kind of viscosity there. So that's not too bad, to be honest. I know it looks discoloured, but it's really all right. So what we need to do now is we can tap these stanchions off completely. But before we do that, we don't want loads of muck to fall in this end of the stanchion, because it'll fall down inside the stanchion. I know we're going to clean them out, but we want to try and keep less going in there, or nothing going in there. Okay, so we just clean top of them seals around, just to make sure there's no big clumps of muck that's going to drop down inside when we take these off completely. So these are just about ready to come off, to be honest. They've gone as far as they can. They're still on the stanchions at the minute, but they are ready to come off. And you can see as we've lowered these sliders, you can see it's still in just as good a condition underneath the seals as it is on top, which is a really, really good sign that there's no wear there, which is really good. So we'll move this camera back up. Now we'll just take these lowers off completely. We'll just tap them until they drop. Okay. Now all the oil's come out, so we can get rid of his bin. We'll just wipe the bottoms. There's no more oil's going to come out there. So we now just want to drop them off there. Can you see? No, you can't really, can you? Let me get that camera back down. Okay. So you can now see inside what these look like inside. You can see right through the hole, right at the bottom. So these consist of a seal at the top with a foam washer underneath it. We're going to take out and we're going to replace this top seal and this foam ring at the thing, at the underneath. Just inside there is a bush. You can just probably see that. Just there. There's one at the top of the slider, and there's one further down about there. Their job is basically to make sure that these stanchions slide up and down in these bushes, and sometimes these bushes need to be replaced. It's something that I wouldn't do here. I'd send it to Fox and they'd do that. It needs a specific tooling to take them out and put new ones in there. They're in good condition, so we've no real reason to want to replace those bushes. If you were getting a lot of backwards forwards movement in your fork when you were, obviously your bike were on the ground and the wheels were in, and you were getting quite a lot of rocking on the top of the fork, then that is a sign that there's a bit of wear on your bushes, and that at that point they need to be sorted out. So we'll put them lowers to one side because we're going to clean them, and we'll just get a clean cloth and we'll just wipe these. If you've noticed, we've not done anything with the tops of these forks at all. We've not let the air out. Okay, we don't need to do that. All we're basically doing is a lower leg service and nothing more. We're not stripping them down, we don't take them to bits. Okay. So we're just giving these a good clean. Okay. With a soft cloth. Okay. This is the air side, the air shaft in here. If we let all the air out at the top, you better push this up. This is the damping side. All this is self-contained. In here, I've got a bit of loose oil floating about in there. Okay, you can hear it inside. Okay, so the oil that we put back in here will run up inside there and lubricate anything that's going on up there. If we were to take this nut off at the top, then all this would come out as a complete whole. The whole system is separate and it just sits inside this stanchion. Okay, so that's now clean. So what we need to do now is we need to clean the stanchions. Okay, so first of all, let's get that little bit of rag on there. It's still dripping a slight bit. Just put a bit of cardboard on. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to clean these stanchions inside, but we need to take these seals out at the top, and the way we do that is really easy. You can take those off, they're just loose, they just come off. Don't need those. Okay, so what we need is a 15mm spanner and a bit of card on the floor, or a bit of wood. Okay, something soft on the floor, and we take us hook of a spanner, and very carefully we get the hook and lever it off. Can you see? Now this head's it's not going to damage because of this seal, because we're obviously pressing against the rubber. Okay, and you can see the foam ring. Okay, so that's one side done. Just give that a wipe. And then the other side is exactly the same. So we take a hook on a spanner, hook it under the seal. Okay, this ain't going to damage because we're on this rubber. And we just put some pressure and just pull it out like that. Okay. There's a foam sponge washer. And there's a seal. Okay. Now we're going to replace them with Fox seals from Fox. I like to use original parts if I can. They are still available despite COVID and everything else. That's one thing that is still available. So you can see now what the tops look like with nothing in. There, okay. All these are really is an empty tube with loads of grit and crap in them. Okay, so what we need to do is get rid of those, throw those away. We don't need them anymore. I'll put my spanner away, and then what we need to do, we need isopropyl alcohol or brake cleaner. Okay, and we need to clean out these lowers. Okay, just spray a little bit in there just to loosen any crap that's in there, and it'll run out the bottom. Okay. And if we look down, and we can see that all the rubbish has run out of the bottom. So it's important now that we've done that we make sure nothing else falls in there, and these tops are nice and clean, because we don't want to put a new seal in there and find that something's going to drop in. Okay. So they're now nice and clean inside. We get us new seals. Get rid of that cardboard. Put that in the bin. Okay. So there's his lowers. Let's get a new seal kit. Okay, so here's his new seal kit. It's a Fox OEM kit. It's a 36 specific kit, and in it comes, let's open it up, everything that we need to change these seals. Got 2 new foam washers, 2 foam washers, 2 new seals, top seals, dust seals, 2 there. Okay. We've got a new sag ring to measure sag, so we've got to take the old one off and put the new one on. We've got a new washer, okay, for the damp inside, and a new washer for his air side. Okay, so we've got everything that we need there to get them back. So the main bit of tool that we need to do this right is one of these. Okay, I've seen some people actually use like a socket for this. What we need to do basically is we need to get these seals back into the top of the fork, and the idea is this sits over the lip there, and we just gently tap them in the top.
I don't know that one.
This is the right tool to get these in your lowers. So we take the springs off very carefully, because we don't want to damage those. So we put them to one side, and we do that off both. Okay, we'll put them to one side. So we need as rubber mallet or as plastic mallet. We need a decent bit of cardboard to stand the lowers on. We need a seal tool to get them in the top of the fork. We've taken the steel rings off the top so we don't damage them, so when these go in it sits nicely on the top. So what we do is just basically do one at once, okay? You don't need to hit them hard, but you need to make sure that you're hitting them square on, and that's where this good tool actually comes in. It makes sure that these are actually going in nice and square. You don't need any lubrication or anything in there. You just need to make sure that it's nice and clean, which we've already done. So all we basically do is get us a seal, okay, and put it over the top, and with the rubber side of the hammer we just gently tap those in. Can you see how they're going in? Now we need to make sure that we don't hit them too hard, because if they do, they'll go too far. Okay, you just need to make sure that the top of the seal is level with the top of the slider. Okay, there we are, we're about right there. Okay, so, and we do the same with the other side. Turn that round so you can see it. Okay, so we're making sure that it's nice and square. Okay, so we're just tapping them in gently. You don't want them to go too low. Okay, it's about right, is that? Okay, so there's his two new seals in. So these two foam sponge washers, what we need to do is we need to soak them in oil just to make sure that they're saturated, and then we can actually feed them under these seals. I'll show you what I mean. So you need like a cap off an aerosol can and some Fox 20 weight fluid, some oil, and we'll just drop a bit in the bottom of there. And what we're going to do is these seals, we're just going to drop one in just till it soaks up all this oil. That's it. And you can see now that it's actually saturated with oil. Okay, and we do the same with the other one, but let's get it in here first. So what we need to do is we need to feed that under there. Sometimes it's easier to do this before you put the seals in, the dust seals, but there we are. Can you see? I don't know whether you can see that. Okay, so what I've done is I've just put these under the seals. So we'll do the same with the other one. Okay, and they soak up oil really quickly. Okay, and we'll do that. We'll just drop it in there. Make sure it sits under the seal. Make sure it doesn't drop down the fork, because you'll have a job getting it out. That's it. Okay. They're sitting rather neat, to be honest. Okay. So that's where they go. So now we've got us two new seals in. We've got us sponge washers underneath, and they've been soaked in Fox oil, which is the same oil that we're going to use to refill these when we put them back on, these stanchions. So I'll put that to one side, do a bit of tidying up. The next thing that we need to do is we need to put these steel spring washers back on top of these seals, like that. There's one on either side. It's important that you don't forget to do this, because if you do, you're going to have to take them off again. Okay, so we've got them two back on, you can see them there. Okay, so we need to feed these back on. It's a reversal of what we did when we took them off. Okay, up to the top of the stanchions. and we need to make sure that these go on these stanchions fairly equally. We don't want to crush the foam washers underneath, if you remember. So we just gently get one side on first, just feed it on very gently. And you'll find if you get it right, they'll just slide back on, he says. That's it. That's it. Okay. So now that they're on there, what we need to do is we need to get the right amount of oil in these stanchions. Fox recommends 40 cc's of Fox 20 weight oil in the damper bath side, and in the air bath side I think it's about 10 mils. It's not a lot, to be honest. So and it's important that we use specific oil for these particular forks. I think it is anyway. I always use Fox oil for Fox, and I use OW30 oil for rock shocks, if that's what we're working on. So if, for example, we were working with these off the bike, it'll be a little bit easier to get this oil back in here, because obviously we'll be able to turn them round in the stand. But because they're attached to the bike, it's just a little bit more awkward. Not impossible, but just a little bit more awkward. What we need to do, the best way to do this is to turn the bike upside down. So we'll do that now. Okay, so I weighed out 50 cc's of Fox 20 weight oil in here, which is a good thing to get if you've not got one. It makes your measurements more precise. So I filled it up to 50 mil, and I've put 40 mil in the damping side, and I've put the other 10 mil in the air side. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can push these a little bit further down until we can start to see the ends, which is there. Okay, so we've got us new washer on here. I've just dropped that on there. We just loosely screw that in place there. And then we've got us 10 mil side here with his new washer. We can just loosely put that over there. And now that we've got these just hand tight on the bottom here, we've put us new washers on, we've got them hand tight. What we need to do is we need to torque them up to the right settings. Fox recommend 5.65 on both of these. So let's take us torques. Let's take us torque wrench. 5.65, which is not a lot, to be honest, but that's all we need on these. Okay, so we just keep going till we start to click. That's it. Don't need any more on that one. And we'll do the same with the other side. .65. That's it. That's all we need. We can put the top back on that side. I've put a little bit of grease in there as well, so you can see here there's a little keyway where this Allen key fits in, so it only goes on one way. Okay, so you just drop that on there, and it's a 2 mil. So we're just tying that up reasonably tight, but not over tight. That's enough. Okay. Now if we tighten clockwise, it slows down the low speed compression. Anti-clockwise, it goes faster. So I normally set it as far right as it'll go, and I go 5 or 6 clicks back. Right, and that's about average setting for that side. Put a little bit of grease or a little bit of oil on this thread, this cap, stop it getting damaged by a rock. Just hand tight that up, okay? And there, but that's basically it. We're done. The bike's upside down. We need to turn it obviously around and put his wheel back in, put his brake back on. But that's essentially it. So let's turn his bike round. So we'll just drop that back down there, this caliper, and we can just pop it back on this adapter. Okay, we'll just finger tighten it back up for now, just very loosely, because we'll need to set that up when we put his wheel back in. We'll probably need to move it around just slightly to make sure it's central. Okay, we'll put that little clip back in. There. Okay, so we've got his caliper back on. We've just fitted it loose to begin with. We've put his little clip back on for his hose and screwed that back up. What we need to do now is get his wheel back in, so we can just line that caliper up. Bit difficult to do it backwards. Not used to doing it this way. It might take me a minute or two just to get that back in. That's it. Okay. And I'll just centralise this caliper. I think we're all done there. That caliper's now centralised. On that rotor. I've adjusted the pads just so they're coming out of pistons at the same time. Tyre's rubbing slightly on this top of this mudguard, but I'll have to let him know about that. Got the wheel back in, got the caliper back on, got the hose fastened back in the clamp. Job's a good one, to be honest. You can see how straightforward it is. It's not that difficult to do. You just need to take your time, as like anything. Use specific seals for the fork, in my opinion. Use the correct oil, in my opinion. And yeah, job's a good one. You need to do that every 100 hours at least. Just to keep your forks in tip-top condition. The oil does degrade, and so it's always best to kind of do it on a regular basis. Not a massive job, not an expensive job either, to be honest. I think the most expensive bit about it is really the seals and the tool for putting the seals in the top of the sliders of the fork. So but once you've got that, that's basically it. You can keep that, and you can get different sizes for different forks. Obviously that one's for a 36, but you can buy 35s for rock shocks, for pikes, 32s, you can buy them all. So yeah, that's it. If we wanted to go a little bit further, We can check that there's the correct amount of oil in the air side of the fork from the top. We don't need to bother with the damping side because that's all self-contained in the fit damper system. So we can leave that side alone. We don't need to do anything with that. So, but the left-hand side, we can just double check that there's a little bit of oil in there in that air shaft side. That was fairly straightforward. It's not a difficult thing to do. Take your time, like anything. Get yourself a proper seal tool so you can get them seals back in the right way, nice and square. Use a decent socket and a decent torque wrench. Buy yourself some proper Fox oil if you're using Fox Forks. Same with RockShox. Some RockShox OW30 if that's what they take. Double check the volumes on the website, RockShox or Fox, and that's basically it. That is a lower leg service, a really quick and simple thing to do. But that will save your forks long term. That will increase the life of your forks at no end. So thanks for watching. Like I said earlier, we've got quite a lot of things to do on this bike. One thing that's going to be really interesting is the suspension service, the pivot service, the bearing service. So we'll film that and we'll video that and we'll get that put up as soon as I can. So yeah, job's a good one. Again, thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Thanks to everybody that's subscribed so far. Loads of support, some brilliant comments, and I'll always try and reply whenever I can. If you've got any requests or suggestions, they're all welcome. So you know, please feel free. Thanks again. See you later. Thanks. Bye. Have a nice weekend.